Hey, folks, and welcome to episode 5 of the podcast for this week. We've got Max from Leeds Lady, Cate from Leeds Rants, and Lockie from Lockie Leeds. Episode 5, we're going to do a preview of the Cardiff game, more so than anything else, reaction to Daniel Farke's press conference, and then a couple of topics around what's going on at Leeds at the moment. Max, how's your week been, mate? How you doing?
It's all right, but I kind of expected, and I think everybody did, more incomings. So that worried me a little bit, but obviously we'll talk about lineups and stuff. But in general, I'm still fairly happy with the squad if no other people leave. But yeah, I'm just looking forward to actually getting back in Ellen Road because I'm going on Sunday and I just want to watch Leeds again and celebrate a goal and hopefully a win.
Good job. We've got loads of strikers free to score goals at the weekend. Lockie, how you been, mate? How's your week?
Yeah, similar to Max, to be honest. But yeah, I managed to get tickets as well via the away end. Didn't sell out, did they? So I managed to sneak in there, get some of them. So I'm in mode now, season mode. Forget all the rumours, not bothered. Get me to Ellen Road, get me to watch some Leeds. That's all I'm bothered about, really.
Good. Yeah, I was very close to go, and I looked at the flights again. And I was like, it's just they're a little bit pricey, the flights. That's all. But I was very close to going.
Always swim.
Okay, huh?
You could always swim.
It's a bit far. I'm not a great swimmer.
But if you were, you'd think about it.
Oh, absolutely. I drive over. If the ferry was cheap, I drive over and back.
Just not committed, Joe. You're just not committed.
Yeah. How much is out of interest? Yeah. How much? How much are we talking out of interest?
400 quid.
Wow.
For a day trip.
I get
over and back.
I get it.
Yeah, it's not worth it for Leeds.
No, yeah.
Yeah, after spending 170 quid on Leeds merch, it's kind of like, I can't really justify it this week, can I?
Yeah.
Hey, how have you been?
Dear, I'm good, mate. I'm good, thanks. Really busy week this week, doing loads of content and getting ready, doing a watch along on Saturday. So I'm really looking forward to that. There'll probably just be like me and my two dogs watching. But hey, got to start somewhere, and I'm looking forward to it. So can't wait to get back into it. Like Lockie, I'm sick of the rumours. Just get it going. Let's just get going and see how we fare after Sunday.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same. I'll be watching it with the dogs as well because my other half is into her mum and dad's for dinner, which I'm regretfully not going to get to go to because her mum makes a killer dinner. So I'm missing out on that, but I'll get to watch Leeds. So they better win, or else my Sunday's been a complete write-off. So fingers crossed we get that. We should talk a bit about this as well. We start off, I suppose, with the Daniel Farke press conference. So a lot of rumours going around this week about fitness of players, strikers, who's going to play, who isn't, Sam Byram's situation, the club as well. We got a lot of answers from Daniel Farke. We've had a lot of managers and a lot of press conferences over the last 9 months, I suppose. Very different approaches from a lot of them. We've had Allardyce bigging himself up and telling us it was for the players when it really probably wasn't. It was probably just for himself. We had Javi, who didn't want to tell anybody anything about anything. We had Jesse, who would tell everyone about everything except the stuff they wanted to hear about. And then we have a very direct Daniel Farke, pretty much telling us straight the way things are. Max, starting off with you, mate, what stood out to you in that press conference the most?
I think it's just how frank he is, how upfront he is. And obviously, like you say, we've had managers who've said, I'm not telling you who's injured and who's not, because that can be used against me and all this sort of thing. So he said, obviously, we saw pictures of Mateo Joseph walking into, I don't know where it was, but some sort of medical thing with crutches and stuff. And he said, yeah, he's rolled his ankle. He'll be out for the game. Bamford's not expected back anytime soon. Same with Dallas. And yeah, he was just honest about things really and said, yeah, obviously I would like more signings incoming and I think we will get them, but like not before this game. So let's just focus on this game. So I thought, yeah, he's just quite honest with it. It's just refreshing for somebody who actually knows what they're talking about in the footballing sense. I feel like you can trust him. You feel like you can just go on, you do your thing, and we'll be all right. But yeah, I enjoyed it. I listened to it today, and I just thought that yeah, he was quite honest and open, and he gave off all the right signals, really.
Yeah, he did. And I've always said I like to read between the lines and stuff that's being said. There isn't a huge gap between the lines and what Daniel Farke says. It's pretty much on the money what you need to hear. It makes taking notes from a press conference very easy. And a very short press conference, even though there was a lot of information in it. Lockie, the striker situation came up. the potential of transfers came up, huge amount of negativity kicked off on Twitter because it's Twitter and that's what happens. People paraphrase one line and all of a sudden there's a meltdown. Yeah. We had a little chat about this before we went live. So I don't think it's as negative as people think it is. What's your take on it?
Yeah, it's like people say Farke's honest and trust him, right? But they trust one thing he says in a conference, but then forget all the other stuff about saying we are working hard on signings, we are going to bring players in. They ignore that bit because that bit's not true, apparently. Like we're frustrated. Even me, who's fairly positive right now, I'm still frustrated. I want players. I want some top players to come in the side. But as Daniel Farke said, the contract situation is frustrating. We can't go on targets because we don't know who's staying and going. So a lot of it is going to happen in the last two weeks of the window. And I think we've just got that's it now. That's it. That is what it is. That's the situation we're in. We're going to the season now. Support the lads, because Daniel Farke, for me, seemed fairly positive still. Like we said, is an honest guy. He's tempering expectations, but he likes the squad. He likes the players he has, even though there's not many of them fit right now. That's what we need right now. It's about the next few weeks are kind of a short-term period, right? The next 2 or 3 games before the window, get the best we can in those, and then we'll have the squad at the end of that to compete the rest of the league. That's the way I'm kind of seeing it.
Yeah, and he said as much in his press conference. He pretty much said we'll need the fans to get us through the first month. It's not the most difficult first month fixture-wise anyway, if you go historically up what teams did last year. So if it is a case you need to hold this, I think everyone forgets of what we've already got in the squad, and who we haven't lost. I mean, you still have a Sinistera, a Nanto, a Somerville. We've got Harrison there.
That front line, bar obviously the obvious striker, which we do need.
Line, yeah.
But the 3 behind is ridiculous. Whichever goals, 3 you choose. Yeah, 100%. Sinistera can score a goal whenever he wants. Let's be honest. In this league, he gets 1v1 near edge at box. It's probably going in. We've got that type of player still. He's not left yet. That's a positive. Look, player's not here, but we've not lost our best assets, in my opinion. We still haven't lost them. Apart from maybe Rodrigo,
I think that's what people don't see from the outside as well when they're doing all these. Obviously, we've seen all these predictions for the championship over the last couple of days, and people always in their arguments are like, "Oh, they've lost this player and this player and this player. Look at all those players that they've lost," and they're all the ones that we were saying weren't good enough, and the reason why we went down, other than Rodrigo, who obviously scored a few goals last season. So we were a bit sad to see him go, and Verba would have been a really good asset in the championship. They're the only 2 big losses, really. And then you look at teams like Leicester, and they've lost Barnes, Tielemans, and Maddison. And that's 3 of their massive players, and Soyuncu. And they're the only properly sort of ones you'd be gutted about thinking they do amazing in the championship, probably Verba and Rodrigo. So we've only really lost 2 that we would actually care about, to be honest.
There's no denying is that we need players. I think we all know that. Daniel Farke clearly knows that. He says it many times.
Even identified which positions as well.
That's what I like to hear, right? If some people, if they're not looking at these targets, he's told them. He's named the targets we need. They are right there. So let's see on that one. But like that front line is the team. Forget the front line. The team is far good enough to beat Cardiff if we're on it. 100%.
That's the question. If we're on it, Cate, what did you take out of the press conference? What stood out to you the most, and how are you feeling about everything now that you've got a bit of information heading into the weekend?
I think it was, like the guys have said, his honesty, even as far as, we need a new striker. But he basically said he's not too concerned. He's going to have to be creative to find a solution, which is obviously that is the case. Again, love that. But he did say that, as a group, they're a team, they're very together, they're very united. And he was literally basically imploring the fans to get behind them and, saying that that's what they need, particularly over the next 3 to 4 weeks, as the sort of transfer window closes. So, I mean, his candor is really good. And like one of the guys said, I trust him as well. Doesn't mean to say I'm not frustrated by the fact that we haven't seen a lot going on. But I think that, I have more faith now, perhaps, than I did before, that things are going to sort of fall into place as much as they can do before at the beginning of September, and then further down the line in January. I think we'll have a better go at the transfer window then.
Okay, going into the weekend, then just working in reverse. seeing the fact that we don't have a Jorginho Reuter, we don't have a Pat Bamford, and we don't have Mateo Joseph, where is your head at with the striking options Leeds have? Are we looking at do you think we're going to see a return to Dan James up front, which I hope for his sake never happens again?
We had this conversation earlier in the week, didn't we, Jer? I think you know who I'd like to see up front, but I don't think it's going to happen. So now we know that Bamford's not fit. It's a bit of a conundrum, isn't it? I would really like to see him try Nonto up front, but I know that a lot of people wouldn't agree with me. I just would like to see him number 9 for Italy, although, you know, people have said, yeah, he hasn't scored that many goals, but I don't know. I don't know. I'm going to hand this over to the other guys, because I don't know. For me, Dan James, no on the wing still, I think. Yeah.
For his sake, I think more than anybody else's. I just want to see the guy get a run at Leeds in his actual position, because he's been starved of it.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
Lockie, I'm looking at all the people giving out and shouting, angry men shouting at clouds on Twitter today, screaming about who should play up front at the weekend. And we've got we've seen Dan James' name is mentioned. We've seen a couple of people mention their names. The names that haven't been mentioned are 2 actual strikers that are still at the club, and that's Joe Gelhardt and Sonny Perkins, who are both still available for this game. Sonny Perkins, who has already scored against Cardiff as well. Do you put faith in those 2 guys, or one of those 2 guys up there, or is it a situation where you maybe push a Sinistera into a 9 because he has a finish on him?
I like Sonny Perkins. I think he's going to be more on the 21's main guy this year. I think that, or maybe on loan, one of those 2 roles, I think. But you never know. He might have had a really good week in training. He might have pushed him up. We don't know, do we? But Gelhardt's an interesting one in it, because what's his position? Where's he going to play? And I was stuck personally between him and Nonto in that role, because when Farke says he's going to be creative, what I took from that is he's going to be quite fluid with the front 4. I think we're going to see a lot of different movement up there. So in one situation, Nonto might drift out wide. It might switch it for Sinistera, who might come into that position. Because we'll talk about Cardiff more, obviously, but the way they play is very rigid, and we have to move the ball a lot. So off the ball movement is going to be huge. So there will be a striker, but I don't think it'll be an out and out. I think it'll be a lot of movement. Who that will be, I'm still not 100% sure. I've gone with Nonto, but I wouldn't be against Joffe doing that 100%. I want to see Joffe get a chance. I want to see him to take it as well. He needs to take his chances, doesn't he?
This is huge. And this is the point. This is a sliding door moment for potentially 2 players. Someone is going to get a start here that wasn't starting, and somebody else is going to replace them in the bench. So there's going to be opportunities here. And it won't just be one game. By the sounds of it, all 3 strikers will be out until after the international break. So it's a huge opportunity for Joffe to nail his colours to the mast. The only issue with it is he has said himself this week he wants to play as the 10. He sees himself as the 10. Does that then mean Nonto gets to start in the number 9? We finally get to see him. I think he would destroy the championship in the number 9. Personally, I agree completely with what Cate said about him before this week. You look at him you look at Timu Pukki from a Norwich perspective. Wasn't the big guy, very mobile, did a lot of running, dropping deep, setting the ball, and then running back in behind defenses. Nonto has that in his locker. He should be able to do that. Max, do you think it's a possibility that we see Willie Nonto get the number 9 shirt for this game, given this position, or do we think he'll go more safe with maybe like a Dan James there because he has played there before, or will he just put his own stamp on this?
I think it's certainly a possibility that Nonto could play there, and I think he'd probably do a good job there. But for me, I think really Gelhardt is the one. Just because, and we'll get to the lineups, but those type of passes that some of our players, I know Rutter is injured, but he was putting them in the box. Dan James was putting them in the box in those dangerous areas at the front and back post. I think out of fit players, the only player that we've got who has an actual striker's instinct will get in at the back post and the front post and make those late runs into the box is Joffe. And I think he's done that, when Jesse Marsh first came in and we were on the verge of going down, but we just stayed up. A lot of his goals were being in the right place at the right time at the back post into an open net against Norwich. I think it was, wasn't it? He was just there and ready. And I don't see any of our other attacking players having that instinct. You saw in pre-season that when those balls were put in the box, even when Bamford was on the pitch, none of our other wingers and attacking players like your Nontos, your Sinisteras, your Somervilles, none of them were on the end of them, and they were all sort of didn't have that instinct to get in the box and get towards the front post or the back post and challenge the keeper for the ball. And I think Joffy is the only one that we've got fit that will actually do that. And I think if Dan James does play, we'll score a goal where it's a Dan James ball into the box and a Joffy finish. I think that link up could work really well.
I've said this about a couple of games we've played. Dan James crosses into the, as your term, Max, the corridor of uncertainty, where he's just drilling these balls in between the goalkeeper and the edge of 6-yard line. I think that's exactly the areas where Joffy comes into his own. I think that's exactly where he's at his best. I think it would suit him down to the ground. I still don't think it's a bad position to be in. I mean, you were missing 3 strikers, but we've got a potential. And again, remember the division that we're in the Championship. We've got a potential of either Joe Gelhardt, who's played for Sunderland, who were in the playoffs as a striker. We've got Willy Gnonto, who's an Italian international number 9 in our squad. So at the end of the world, I mean, it could be a lot worse. Exactly, we could be stuck with a winger up front, but we've got options. Other areas of the team that were mentioned. So we've seen a couple of changes to the squad numbers, which also highlighted something else as well that was asked for today. We've seen confirmation that Ampadu will retain the number 4 shirt that he's been wearing in pre-season. Archie Gray goes to 22. Jamie Shackleton takes 17. You've got a couple of I think I describe these as ballsy moves here. We've got Sam Greenwood taking Rodrigo and Pablo's old number of 19 and putting that on his back, which is it's a big boy move, that. And then we've got Carl Darlow taking up Weston McKennie's massive shirt from last season. So he'll have good job. He's got big shoulders. He'll fit that jersey, no problem. So anyway, I know it's only anecdotal. I know it's only squad numbers, and it means nothing. But we talked an awful lot last year on our own channels individually about Chris Somerville taking the number 10 shirt when Rafinha left it and going, "Oh, that's a big jersey to be wearing. 4 is a big jersey."
I think a lot of people did say though that it shows a bit of ambition. It shows a bit of intent to say, I'm going to claim this shirt. And obviously it doesn't necessarily mean anything because we had Alioski in the number 10 playing at left back, but it does mean that he's got a bit of get up and go and a bit of ambition to say, I'm going to take that shirt and hopefully I'm going to fill it. And Sam Greenwood, we forget how good he was in the under-21s, linking up with Joffy and scoring goals and assisting goals. He was brilliant, and he's still a high potential player. But I think people tend to write off young players very early, and especially at Leeds because we're scarred by it. And even though Sam Greenwood, it feels like he's played for us for quite a few years in the first team now, but he's not very old at all, and he's still got years to come. I mean, obviously, Paveda had his issues and went out on loan and stuff, but he's only, 22, 23 still? It's like 4 or 5 years until he hits what you would traditionally call his prime. So, and people were like, no, like, obviously he's come back and he's started to do okay and hopefully can improve that, but he's still a young player. If it was still the under 23s, he would still be eligible to play in the under 23s. So I think people tend to write people off too soon. And you could see in a couple of years, people will be saying that Charlie Cresswell's not good enough or Archie Gray. I don't think that will happen, but that's the sort of thing that happens at Leeds. And I think with people like Sam Greenwood, we just need to give them time. It's like Crescencio Somerville's probably prime example as well, because everybody said that he was crap. And obviously he scored 4 in 4 last season, and he's shown flashes of brilliance, and you can say, oh, right, I can see where the potential is now. And there's talk of him going for 15 odd million, 20 million, when it was obviously only a couple of million that we brought him in for in the first place. So they just need time. They just
we are too. I think is it football fans in general? I don't know, but it's either, especially with Leeds fan base, it's either keep him or he's got to go. There's no in between, is there?
Yeah.
It's either keep him off, just get him out. Don't want him here.
Throw him out the door just because.
Yeah.
And the thing about it
is starter or nothing at all.
I don't think it's necessarily even just a Leeds thing. I talk with friends about this an awful lot, and there is a general thing about bigging up the youth talent at every club that they're going to be the next breakout star, and then ultimately 99% of them don't break into the team. Like especially the top sides in the Premier League, you see how many young players come through their books and the caliber those players are at, and how hard it is to get into teams that are buying big players all the time. Like if Man City need a brand new left back, they'll go and buy a ready-made left back. They won't push a kid into the team too early. They'll wait and they'll see and give them time, and then ultimately sell them to Southampton for 20 million. But you get the point. But with Greenwood, I think Greenwood's a cracking player. I'm probably in the minority of people who think there is a really good player in there, and I think it will come out. I think he's technically very, very good. He just needs his moment to really shine and get a bit of consistency. But Cate, Cate, you first. Go on.
Sorry, I was just going to say, I don't think. I mean, I'm one of those people who actually was a bit sort of disparaging about him, but I don't think he was in, well placed to sort of shine last year when he came in at the end of the season. And he was played quite a lot. I thought he was put in situations which were very pressurized and maybe sort of, didn't suit where he's at. He probably does need to start sort of getting minutes, consistent minutes in the first team without any sort of pressure, and sort of to build his confidence up and just keep training. So yeah, I totally get what you're saying, Jeff. That.
He does need to step up, though. He does need to take the opportunities now, like you've already said, something like that. Like he gets the opportunity now. He's got to step up and take it. He's got to show that he's. It was a kind of a criticism about Somerville when he started to break into the first team. It was like, yeah, we all want him to be a success, but he needs to do more. He needs to defend better. He needs to be more involved in the game and look for the ball more. And I think Greenwood is the same. When he does get it at his feet, he's technically very, very good. He went through 2 Newcastle players like they weren't even there when we played Newcastle at the back end of last season. Was involved in the penalty that we got that Farke went down for. So it's there. It's just, again, this thing about when is it going to be realised? Is it ever going to be realised kind of potential,
Yeah, and I think last year was horrible because we couldn't be patient with players, was it? Because we needed success straight away because of how bad it was and how much we lost. So we couldn't bring through a Darko J. We couldn't bring through a Gray because we couldn't afford that. We had to play our experienced players. So these young guys kind of got shafted a little bit in that sense because you couldn't bring them on. And if they did get brought on, they had no idea what they were doing most of the time. Let's be honest, they looked lost. Because 1, you had 3 different managers, and 2, it's a horrible environment to come in. You want to come in an environment where you can just relax, do a little bit of good stuff, and that's it. People go, oh, he was quite good. But it was literally, he came on, he did nothing, rubbish, get him out. Because that's what we were all feeling at the time, right? Yeah. We were all frustrated with everyone. But my example is Eze, who now plays for Crystal Palace. I can't remember the clubs he got released at, but so many. And was it QPR give him a chance?
Yeah.
And now look at him. He's playing for England in the space of 4 years.
Vardy was the same. There's been tons of players over the years.
Loads of
they've
players.
Been pushed down. Gone down the divisions, come back up.
That you think, oh, they've got nothing. Yeah, they're all right, but they've not got that next level. Then suddenly in their mind, something switches and they think, right, this is it now. And I'm hoping that's Poveda right now. I'm hoping he's sorting everything out. And now he's realising his potential and will push on, I'm hoping.
Me too.
Speaking about Poveda, I want to roll back on something that I said last week. Just based on what Farke said again today. He was asked about Archie Gray, and he basically said, I'm not bigging up any young player after preseason games. He has to do it consistently in the league. When he's 8 or 9 games, these young players will get tough love from me. I will bring them to the door, but they have to be able to walk through themselves, which I thought was a cracking quote as well.
Yeah.
Love that. But it lines up really well what he said about Ian Poveda as well. Like, I'm not dancing on tables after 3 preseason games. I want to see it consistently. Max, do you think there's an opportunity where we can see the likes of Poveda make an impact in the first couple of games, especially now with attackers being missing from the squad?
Yeah, definitely. And I think, like you say, Farke's managing that really well because in his head, he's probably thinking, oh, these players are brilliant and they're going to be such good players. They've got such high potential. But you can't say that to young players because it might go to the heads. They're already earning a ridiculous amount of money at such a young age, and you need to be careful of how you blood them in professional football. We've seen all too many times that we've put too much pressure on players as fans, which is not entirely our fault because we've been put in a position where we need saving. So then we're looking to somebody to save us. And I think it was Lockie that mentioned it last week. We did it with Nonto. We did it with Gelhardt. Every time they came off the bench or they went to warm up, everybody got up and started clapping and was ready for him to come on, standing ovation when they came on, like he's going to save us. And I think Farke's trying to temper expectations a little bit and also give people like Archie Gray something to go at and to say, okay, well, I am going to prove it to you then. I am going to do it in this team. Because if he just says, oh no, yeah, Archie Gray, brilliant, one of the best youngsters I've ever seen. Archie Gray in his head, I don't know the fella, but in his head, he's probably like, oh, I'm in now. I'm in the first team. Brilliant. I'm
Mm.
settled. So he needs to keep those players on his toes. But yeah, Ian Poveda could certainly make an impact. And I think, like we were discussing the other week, he provides a different type of player in that number 10 role, or even on the wing as well. It's his ability to stand a man up, which was what Joe highlighted, that we haven't had anybody like that since Rafinha. And it's just a different style of player. And it's entertaining to watch. It really is entertaining to watch. And he could certainly have an impact, because sometimes you need a variation of player in your team. You might not really want to bring on like for like, because a lot of the time, what's the point bringing on a player that's plays in the exact same way as the player that you already had on if it's not working? So you bring Poveda on for somebody like, I don't know, Dan James, because he's a bit more kick and run and he'll go past people with his pace. You bring on somebody like Poveda, different type of defender, different type of attacker, so it's harder for the defender to readjust his game. You might get a really quick fullback who can just beat Dan James, not in pace, but you know what I mean, when he tries to knock it past him. But then Poveda gets it, and he's a little bit more, I'm going to stand you up, I'm going to put it through your legs, I'm going to make you look like an absolute sausage.
He wants to embarrass him. He's got that in him. Yeah,
exactly. So I think that actually does Poveda a massive favour, because if he wasn't that type of player, I don't think he would get a look in as much. But because he's the only player that we've got that stands a man up, feints one way, goes the other, creates a bit of space, and then puts it in the box, he can create space and he can create chances where other people can't. And I think that's what's going to set him aside. And I think he just needs to do that consistently. But I think because we've got injuries, he's going to get his chance in the next few weeks to prove that he should be a part of the first team. And I hope he takes it, because he's an entertaining player to watch.
Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah, I was just going to, on the Farke comments to Poveda and Archie Gray, what I like about it is he's telling them, right, because he said, didn't he, when he talks about a player like this, they've obviously got talent. That's the way he does it. So if he's saying that about Archie Gray, but what he's saying is he's kind of putting the pressure on them, but not in a way that he's telling them they need to perform. He's saying them, that's down to you. All right? That's like you said about the quote he mentioned. Yeah, you are. It's down to you. I'm not saying you have to perform. That's up to you. Do you want to do that? And that's what I like. He's not, the pressure last year was, you're coming on, you need to do this. Farke will say to them, you're on the pitch, show me what you can do. I like that. I like that from him.
Yeah.
Cate, real quick, wanted to move on, just talking about another player who was mentioned in the press conference. I my news story this morning, I kind of said was notable by his absence in the squad number was number 25. Sam Byram was missing from the squad numbers, which I thought future still not sorted on Sam Byram. Asked about it in the press conference, and Farkas confirmed there is concrete talks between Leeds and Sam Byram to sign a contract at the club, which is good to hear. He said that this was the interesting line, and this is the line I think everybody needs to now take going forward as how Leeds will operate. We all assumed this, but now we've got the definitive line. Our model is we don't announce anything till it's done.
Yeah.
So that's where that's come from. So what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah. I mean, look, we kind of know that we might not like it, the fact that they're not going to announce anything, but it is a way to do professional business at the end of the day. As for Sam Byram, I mean, Byram, I don't know. He's obviously going to be registered today or signed today. That doesn't seem to have happened unless I've missed something glaring in the news. I don't think they're rushing. They're, like you say, they've had talks. He's had a good pre-season, as we know. I would not be unhappy for him to be maybe given a 6-month contract with a review, maybe end of the year, and maybe another 6 months to sort of get us out of the situation that we're in. I think he could do a job, and yeah, that's basically Sam Byram for you. That's what I think. I think, yeah, why not?
Any thoughts from anybody else on Sam?
Yeah, I think, because I know a lot of people are complaining about the club taking time, but I genuinely think a lot of this is Daniel Farke taking time with it. I don't think it's the club deciding the contract. Obviously, he's a player. He's playing for Daniel Farke. So it's him who's taking the time with it, because he's not sure. Is that down? Obviously, that's down to his past and his injuries. Maybe he's training, he's feeling it a little bit potentially, and they're just trying to figure out medically if he's right. There's a lot of stuff that goes into signing a player, especially one that's not played a lot of football in since he left Leeds, really. I do like Sam Byram. Again, I don't think he's a starting left back, really. I don't think it's ideal, but he's certainly a good squad player for me. Yeah, I'd be happy with him as a squad player, basically, is what I'm trying to say.
I wasn't running away, I swear. My laptop was dying. I forgot to plug it in. Yeah, I think it's a great option as a squad player. I think it actually makes 100% sense. And Cate, what you said there as well, we talked about this before as well. Where's the risk in a 6-month deal? Till Christmas, have a look at it, and then look at it again after that, then and see can you get to the end of the season, then maybe but maybe you can give him a 1-year contract the year after. But
so what I'll say on that, it's a no-brainer, right, for everyone. Why is it taking so long? Do you think it is the injury
medicals?
Yeah,
I would assume it's medical stuff. I would assume it's first prove his fitness in preseason. They can actually get through with Daniel Farke preseason, because that's tough enough as it is. So if you can get through that, your body's in decent condition. But then I'd say there's a lot of medical stuff that has to go into this as well.
I think you could bet that if Hjelde picked up an injury, he'd be signed like that, because we've got nobody else.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But I think because Hjelde is available to play, he's still got another month to decide whether he wants to sign Byram or not. And I think it goes
he's got longer than a month, because he's a free agent. So Leeds can sign him at any point they want. They can literally sit this one out and wait. Yeah.
Wait till he's 50.
More like a transfer policy, wouldn't it? It's too late to make the move. Oh, we're gonna make a move for him. That's too late. Yeah, it's an interesting one.
There's a few players that didn't get through preseason. Now you put it like that, Jer, though. The physicality of a Daniel Farke preseason and everything they were expected to do. There's some kind of the glaring kind of situations that have sort of come to the front, isn't there? With I don't know what Matteo Joseph did. What did he
rolled his ankle, but he's on ligament damage, so no surgery needed, but will be out of action for 2 to 3 weeks.
And then you got Paddy, running after a sprint. Sprinting
and injury out for a month. Yeah, Rutter has a core injury out for a month.
I had somebody actually text me this morning and said that Rutter's cracked his ribs.
Possibly, yeah. He was holding that part of his body when he went down. He was over the side. So they tackle. Preseasons were very physical this year. I noticed compared to the normal preseason friendly. I thought they were very physical.
I think I can say though that some of the injuries. So Bamford's obviously very injury prone, but if you take his aside, when you actually look at Matteo Joseph, that is not a fitness thing, is it? That's he's just got over in his ankle. That's an accident. An accident happened, and then the Jorginho Rutter one as well. He just got smashed into, and there's not much you can do about that, is there? And he obviously has gone down and maybe, like Cate says, broken his rib or whatever. But I think when that game against Arsenal, where we had Archie Gray on the bench when he was 15, and it was basically a bench of the under 21s. They were all muscle injuries, weren't they? The ones that we were picking up then. And then under Jesse Marsh, they weren't fit enough. So you kind of went from one extreme to the other. And I think this is striking a bit of a good balance between the ways that our players have been trained over the last couple of years. Now, I don't know if any of you knew this, but I found this out at the time Jesse Marsh was manager. He only trained like a specific drill 2 to 3 minutes at a time, and then swapped over to the next one so that players wouldn't get bored, basically. But that's not enough time for anything to go in. So they may actually have been good drills, and they might have worked if he'd have done them for more than 2 or 3 minutes. But I think Daniel Farke is striking a balance where the players are getting a lot fitter, and they're also actually able to not pick up muscle strains and stuff. Because like I say, a lot of them have been actually just bumps and going over their ankles and accidents. It's just coincidence that they've all lined up at the same time.
It is annoying, isn't it, that all our strikers as well, literally in 1 week. Literally 1 week. Not even a week, a few days. 2-3 days, all gone. But yeah, I watched a Norwich podcast. We're talking Daniel Farke, and they did warn there will be a lot of injuries. A lot of the reason why you brought Max Aarons, Jamal Lewis through were because there were a lot of injuries. So we need to prepare for that. That's why we need some more depth, 100%.
We did see it on the Bielsa's first pre-season. I mean, the whole reason Matthias Klick even got an opportunity to play for Leeds again was because Adam Forster got injured during pre-season under Bielsa's first pre-season. So it's a shock to the system when your body hasn't done that amount of work ever, or in some of the core players, 18 months since they did that level of work. You're gonna feel it. You're gonna get micro tears, fiber tears in your muscles. That they're all growing pains essentially with training. So you're gonna get them. It's expected you're going to drop a couple of people. Farke has alluded to that again in the press conference by saying, I need competition in every single position on the pitch. And he's named centre back, left back, centre mid. Creativity in centre midfield was an interesting one that he called out specifically, as well as a striker. So he's already kind of identifying this is going to be tough on the bodies, but we need to have a bigger squad. I'm not worried about the squad side at the moment. I know he said we trained with 16 players, but you put into that Dallas, Bamford, Joseph, Rutter, Harrison, Adams. It's 24, 25-man squad there. Like, you can't just fill it with dead wood then just because a couple are out injured for a few weeks. He did say that when we get closer to the season, we get closer to the end of the window, the injury players are coming back and he expects more signings to come in as well. So
I was going to say something, Joe. I don't know if this is part of the thing, sorry, but what do you think on Harrison? Do you think he stays with this injury?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think if he's not, if he's not gone by the international break, I think if he's not involved in the squad but before the international break happens, I don't think he goes on deadline day. I think he stays put.
Imagine that with Harrison coming back as well.
Incredible.
Crazy, isn't it? It's crazy.
Totally.
Surely not.
I don't know. The first third of the season he'll be fantastic, and the final third of the season he'll be fantastic. And then we've got Dan James, Sinisterra, and Somerville to fill in the middle bit where he's not as on form as he
as well. If we could keep Sinisterra, wow.
Ridiculous. Yeah, I mean, look,
we shouldn't be allowed to. That should be illegal, honestly. We shouldn't let the EFL should get involved and say you're not allowed. Seriously, I kind of want him to go just for his career.
Don't tell anyone, Stop doing videos on Sinisterra. Everyone stop doing it. He doesn't exist.
And he doesn't exist.
Yeah. We get on to the squad stuff before we bring it further. So I'll just do a brief pause for the transition that I might put in, but probably won't. So there you go. That's that done. So Max sent me a picture of his likely lineup. So then I've asked everybody else to send me theirs. I didn't do one. Kay hasn't done one because I asked Kay too late, and Lucky's sent one in late as well. So
I've done one actually here. I have got one, but I haven't sent it to you. Yeah,
we can share it on your screen. You can give it. You can do that. Great. So I'm the only one without a team sheet. There's planning and prep for you.
You're the boss. It's all right.
Yeah,
I organize it, then I don't do it. There you go. I was never great at homework. We're gonna start off with Lucky, because yours is on my screen. I'm just gonna get my buttons sorted out here. Lucky, are we looking at what you think will play or what you hope will play?
Probably both, to be honest. I think first game home. So I think Cooper 100% starts, experience, playing at Ellen Road, first game of the season. I think that's a shoe-in. Creswell or Strauch is the thing there's two positions I'm not too sure about. One is Creswell and one is a striker. I think given all the media surrounding him this week, surely that means he's higher in the pecking order. Potentially, I don't know. I think I want Creswell to start just because, again, the intensity of the first game of the season. I think he'll be able to deal with that more than Strauch. Aileen Hjelde, I think that's fairly obvious. Cody Dram is not fit, I think. Is he injured?
Not yet, no.
Yeah. Hjelde is the only Hjelde is the only left back at the club. It's not even really a left back, is he? But we move. Midfield, I think, given pre-season, Ampadu, Archie Gray has been a brilliant partnership. I think Archie Gray has impressed me. It's a big ask for him in Championship now. This is his time to shine for me, because I believe personally we'll bring a midfielder in. I know some people think we're not signing anyone, but I think we'll bring a midfielder in. But if he can impress here, he's putting competition, like Farke said. This is the competition he needs right now. Impress. This is your time. The front four is difficult because I put Nonto at top. That could easily be Gelhardt, 100%. But I just... it might be Gelhardt. I'm pushing to Gelhardt for what it will be. I just want to see... Willie Nonto's really good. He's not been great pre-season, has he? He's not been great for a while.
Played a lot.
No, but when he's good, it was so exciting last year when he was good.
Oh, I know.
And I just want him to recapture a bit of that. Maybe with the fresh environment, new season, competitive. I don't know.
If Farke's comments about tough love on young players is true, then that maybe Willie falls into that category as well. He's still only 19 years of age. You forget about that as well. So maybe it's a case of I'll let you go when I think you're ready to go, and that could be day one in front of a packed Ellen Road, and that's the kind of environment where Nonto maybe shines more, where it's good pressure, not negative pressure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, but that's the test for him, and that's the test for a lot of these guys. You look at James as well. I think he'll start just because I think he's been really good preseason. I do. People don't rate him. People won't change their mind on that, so that's fine. I think there's definitely a player you can exploit in there in this league, 100%. Somerville, I've been impressed with preseason. Whenever he's on, he's dangerous, he's direct, does hold onto the ball a little bit too much, can be a little greedy, but he's still a championship defender's not a deal with him, are they? He tore Liverpool apart, for God's sake. So Sinistera, he's playing whenever he's fit. I think it's a good little balance as well. I put Meslier in net. I didn't mention that because Farke said it in his press conference.
He said it, yeah.
So unless he's doing us all here, I think, and he understands the system more. He's been here longer, so playing out from the back, he will understand it more than Darlow at this point, and that's a big part of the play. But the striker is the one for me that I'm not 100% sure on.
So for the audio version of this, Lockie's going Melier in goal, right back,
Yeah.
Ayling left back, Hjelde, Cooper and Creswell at centre back, and Badiungre as the holding midfielders. The three behind the striker are James, Somerville, and Sinistera, and Nanto up top. Real quick before we move on to Max's team, are we surprised at the Melier decision and the fact that he's said it out loud that if he's fit, he starts?
I don't
I'm not surprised by it. I mean, again, you're going on with what we've just been talking about the way he's sort of bringing on younger players. And look, let's face it, Melier is still quite a young guy. He needs his confidence building. I think one of the reasons that he sort of failed so disastrously last season was because his confidence was shot. He didn't know what he was, meant to be doing really. And I just thought, I think if Daniel Farke can sort of like get his confidence, channel his sort of skills, get his confidence up, I think maybe he'll get back to a really, really good goalkeeper. And if he still wants to go at some point, then I'm not convinced he wants to stay, but I think he should be given a shot to sort of develop as far as he can do. And I think Farke's the man that can do that personally.
Yeah,
I think well.
Go on, Max.
Sorry, yeah. In the championship last time when he first started playing for us after Kiko was banned, that was when he played almost his best football for us, and it was almost like when he was youngest for us as well. And obviously the first season back in the Premier League. But when you actually look at the circumstances, it's because we weren't giving away anywhere near as many chances. If you don't give your goalkeeper the opportunity to make mistakes, then he's not going to. Like, our defense was so good in that championship season, and then to a certain extent it was when we went up into the Premier League. When we finished 9th, we had that run right at the end, didn't we, where we really kept top opposition away from our goal and not really able to score. And obviously a keeper's going to concede more goals if the defense in front of him is giving away more opportunities. And I think now that we're back in the championship with not really a fresh look defense too much, but we saw that this defense pretty much last time dealt well with championship strikers. And the only real difference is that Cresswell's there instead of Ben White, but Ben White was also a very young player who came in at right centre back next to Cooper and really did well. So you're almost seeing the same recipe with just Cooper and Ayling a bit older. A lot of people hating on Cooper and Ayling and stuff as well, but in the championship, everybody has a go at Ayling and Cooper saying that they're championship level when we were in the Premier League, and now we're back in the championship. No, you're saying this is their level. This is their level. They're decent in this division.
Yeah.
But yeah, sorry, ran over.
No, not at all, mate. I completely agree with you. Let's have a look at your team. If I can make this computer thing work.
These newfangled computer majiggies.
It's a new laptop, and I have 2 screens here, and they're just laid out wrong because I'm doing another podcast later. But it's just here we go, Max Leeds lady. There we go. I have to go to Twitter because the images you sent me that I downloaded for reasons unknown to me are not working on my laptop just yet. It's not accepting them, but I'll just do it through Twitter instead. So there we go. Now, quick reshare. Add the stream. There we go. So Max, talk us through your starting 11 again. For those who don't have visual on this, just talk us through it.
Yeah, so we've got the Melier in that again. Obviously, Melier has been identified as Farke by Farke in the press conference, so you kind of have to go for him. This is a little bit of a mixture of what I want to play and what Farke will play. but only in one or two positions. So I'll talk about that. But I think Hjelde, even if we hadn't brought anyone in, some people have not been that impressed with him. I've been really impressed with him in preseason, especially in that Hearts game where he just made a jinking run through midfield and was nearly through on goal. And I was like, hold on a sec, that's Hjelde. What's he doing up there? But I think he's doing his job well. He's doing exactly what Farke wants of him and on almost tucking into the midfield when we're in the attack, that inverted fullback role, whilst we're letting Ayling do what he does best and get forward and put the ball in the box. So I think Hjelde at left back, really good. Even if we brought in a left back, I like Hjelde and I think he would do well in the Championship. And then obviously, as we mentioned on Lockies, you got Cooper and Cresswell at centre backs, similar, hoping that it becomes a little bit of a similar dynamic to Cooper and Ben White, and then Ayling at right back, like I said, drops down to the Championship. I think this is his level and he's good in this level. Then you've got Ampadu in the holding midfield role, sitting a little bit deeper, and I think he is going to be unbelievable this season. The way he passes forward, and especially obviously you can see who's in the lineup in those attacking positions, but them getting on the end of his passes, especially Dan James, he's lightning fast and he'll be able to get on the end of those passes. Archie Gray, we've talked about him with what Farke was saying about not giving young players almost too much of an ego. Obviously, he didn't say it outright, but I think this is his big chance. I think he will play, given what Farke's lined up like in preseason. I think he will start. I think he will play next to Ampadu, and I think he'll do well in there. He's got a chance to really to show what he can do. Yeah. He doesn't need to prove himself massively in the Cardiff game because he's 17, so he's got time. But yeah, and then in front of them, you've got Sinisterra, Somerville, and Dan James. And I think what I have done that I think Farke will do, but I would prefer to have Sinisterra in the middle, but I think he will play Somerville in the middle because of the games he's played in pre-season, and that's where he tended to put them and leave Sinisterra out wide. When we were in the Premier League and people were crying out for a Pablo role in there, and I suggested Sinisterra at the time. I thought he would do really well in the middle, and I still think that he is very adaptable to that role. So I'd probably prefer him in the middle, but I think it'll be Somerville. But like you're saying, Jer, it's really fluid, this system, and they could interchange whenever they like. Dan James. Now, my video yesterday, I did my season predictions. I know some of you guys did them on Joe's show the other day. So I did the same categories. I actually picked Dan James out as player of the season. I wanted to do something a little bit different, but also I really believe in Dan James. I think he's been hard done by the club, sending him out on loan like they did, when really he probably could have helped us out last season. It wasn't his choice. He actually really wants to play for the club. He likes playing for Leeds, from what he said in his interviews. And also, he's starting to get that final end quality. Everybody said he'd be so good if he had a final ball and he had that ability to actually create something at the end of it. He's starting to see it now, I think, and putting those balls into the corridor of uncertainty. Like I said before, that links in with what I was saying earlier about Joffy. I think he's the one that makes those runs front post and back post and puts the ball in the net. So I'm calling that Dan James assist, Joffy goal in this game.
Interesting.
And a 1-0 win.
Right as well.
Is that right?
Yeah. Well, maybe more than that, but at least one of the goals will be like that.
Interesting.
Cate, do you want to share yours and I can put it up on the screen, or do you want to just talk it through?
Let me see if I can present. Can I present?
Should we say as well, Max? Your Dan James thing isn't wild. I put Rutter as player of the season, so you know.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Pure delusion.
Yeah,
necessarily, and that's the interesting thing about it. I mean, Dan James has never really had a crack at playing on the wing for Leeds. You remember the last time in the Championship when we tried to sign him for the first time when it fell through on the deadline day.
Yeah.
I mean, you got a £20 million move to Manchester United on the back of that season. Like, I mean,
yeah, that was also my argument.
What he did for them.
That was my argument in that video. I think that was when he played his best football was in the Championship, and we signed him to be a winger in the Championship because he was so good as a winger in the Championship. Yeah. We tried to sign him the first time because he was so good as a winger in the Championship. So he's had a few more years experience in the Premier League, and you're putting him back in the Championship on the wing. I think he's going to be brilliant.
Mm-hmm.
more international caps under his belt, the World Cup and the Euros under his belt now as well. Experience level's gone up. You know, he's got a partnership with Ethan Ampadu. They know each other. You talked about those long diag balls that Ampadu likes to play. You know, there's a definite connection there. I don't think it's outlandish at all to think that Dan James could be a standout player this season. I'm a big fan of Dan James. I really am rooting for him to prove a lot of doubters wrong. Although I do that with quite a lot of people. Once people start doubting them, I'm like, well, I'm on your side now. Fingers crossed you can do something. But it's a tricky one. Kate, I'll zoom in on your use a little bit. I can't. Doesn't matter. Kate, talk us through your team. I can see it perfectly.
I'm not going to go on about this. It's very, very similar to the guys that have done, you know, the guys that are in the back line, especially. I think it's a no-brainer really for me. Ailing down the right, the way that, you know, he's played pre-season, he's like getting back to his old self, the way that he was sort of, you know, even though he's a couple of years older, but you know, the way he was playing under Bielsa. Creswell, I think they're going to start him because, and I want them to start him as well. I think he deserves it. You know, I was really chuffed that he signed a new 4-year deal. Was it? Next to Cooper, that works. And then Hjelde for me, I know the run that Max is talking about. Yeah, it was look, left back. I don't, you know, it's Hjelde or Sam Byram. Sam Byram's not signed, so it's going to be Hjelde, I would imagine. As long as it's not Furpo, I don't care. And then we've got, obviously James down the right, Archie Gray and Ampadu in the middle. That's a no-brainer as well. I can't wait to see them two this season. Cine, I put Poveda at, don't ignore these numbers, but I put Poveda at 10. I just would, you know, from what we've seen of him in pre-season, I think that he warrants that. I don't think he'll start. I don't think he will start. Somerville's more likely to start, but like Lockie was saying, a little bit greedy on the ball for me over the last past few games. Just held on to it a little bit too long. But maybe, you know, that's, I don't know. Is that a biggie? I don't know. Maybe not.
I like the Poveda shout.
Pardon?
I like the Poveda shout. It's
interesting.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I just think he's exciting to watch, isn't he?
Yeah.
And I really, really hope that he has a sort of like little breakthrough season for him this year at Leeds, because he's another one that's been sent out on loan. He's had a bad rap about his attitude and this, that, and the other, but I think maybe it's unjustified in certain respects. And then Nonto, I'd love to see him play. If he doesn't work out in that role, then change it up. But I'd love to see him get the chance to play a number 9, whether or not he will. I don't know.
This lineup, and even similar to the last lineup, I talk about Daniel Farke's systems being fluid. If Nonto doesn't work up front in here, he just drops out right, and maybe Poveda puts into 10, maybe Cine comes into the 9. But those, I would see the 4 of those, your 3 behind your 1, and then your striker. I would see them interchanging roles throughout the whole game. I can easily see these, you know, we've talked about before, Cine popping up on the right and left, James the same, Poveda swapping out to the wings, or even Somerville. This is the dream, wasn't it? This was Victor Orta's dream, to have 4 players up front that could all interchange with each other. That's why we didn't buy number 9, because we were buying wingers who could play up top.
I'd imagine like Sinistera, for example, doing that. Championship defenders or any championship players cannot deal with him picking up pockets of space anywhere on the pitch. And even Somerville and Poveda, these are the type of players we've still got.
I think you see a lot of goals in the fullbacks as well, Lucky, because I don't believe championship teams are set up to deal with inverted fullbacks, because nearly nobody plays with inverted fullbacks. It's a fantastic system. And again, you can also swap your fullbacks over as well if you're going to play inverted. So that's why Sam Byram in the left back position works out really, really well, because technically he's on his right foot the whole time when he gets the ball, because he's inside. So that works out well as well. It's an interesting one. I don't have a lineup up, but if I was to look at this, what Kate's got on the screen, I'd love to see that. That's the team I'd love to see. I'd love to see Dale, Creswell, Cooper, Hjelde, because again, Byram's not signed. But if Byram was signed for me, I'd start with Byram. Then you've got James Sinistera on the wings, the 2 lads in the middle, Ampadu and Gray. I don't think you can argue with that. And then I also would like to see Poveda give him the chance in the 10, but I don't think he will. I think it'll be Somerville, and I agree with the same reasons on Somerville. I think he overcarries the ball a little bit at times. I think he takes 1 or 2 main touches. There's an element of Jackie about him when Jackie first came to Leeds as well. He was very, very similar. He overcarried the ball, took 2 many touches. That was knocked out of his game eventually. Sometimes it creeps back in. And then if not in the number 9, I'm happy with either Nonto or Joe Gallagher. I keep saying I think this system suits Joe Gallagher's style and where he comes alive. However, I can see through balls from the wide areas into Willie Gnonto's run of defenders as well.
Yeah.
I would be scared as a backline if I was looking at James,
Honestly.
Poveda, City, Gnonto, or Somerville, and running at me. That's a
That's
scary
frightening.
lineup. It is frightening. It is. This thing I was saying about the defense as well. If you look at the likes of Manchester City, you look like Arsenal last year, you don't have to have a great defense. You have to, if you're spending the bulk of your time in the opposition half, if you're a possession-based side and you're keeping the ball for the entirety of the game, you just need players who can read the game and cut out balls that are played forward and then get back on possession again. It's a case of, and we've seen with Farke's system, unlike Bielsa's system, the pragmatism kicks in, and it's a case of, if we can't go forward, go backwards. It's fine. Just keep the ball.
Yeah.
Make sure we retain possession. You don't need a great defensive lineup to do that. You just need ball players because you're going to spend the bulk of the time attacking.
It's important as well to set up with a good rest defense, as they call it now in modern football. The rest defense is the idea that basically who you leave back and where you position them when you're on the attack. And I think, like you say, Joe, it's about having a footballing brain in those players, and also with the manager knowing where to position them, the most likely areas of threat. Obviously, what Jesse Marsch lacked really badly was a rest defense, and we saw that there was always space to switch the ball, didn't we? And that comes from a lack of setting players up in the right positions as a rest defense. And I said, when I did a tactics video explaining his tactics again just before he got sacked, and I said, like, for me, that there's quite a simple way to improve this, and was just to stick another you holding midfielder, drop between your centre backs, or a full back tuck inside, and we go 3 in the middle of the pitch, rather than still having a left back, centre back, and just a right back being up in the opposition half, and the cross being there. But I think Farke has a better rest defense and sets his players up in a way that when you do get counter-attack, they're ready for it, and they can't just have one long ball switched over the top of them and score. And that's where that level of pragmatism comes in. And like you say, Joe, you don't necessarily have to have bloody Ruben Diaz and Manuel Akanji in there just to stop that. You just have to have players in the right position at the right time. And obviously, we can only deal with the players we've got, but the players we have got, Liam Cooper is actually a very good header of the ball and will win you headers when the ball comes over the top. And then Charlie Cresswell is like that as well. And then they can cover each other and one drop a little bit deeper to stop that flick on. But I think, it's important that somebody like Farke comes in and does that.
And that's what he spoke about in his press conference when he said when he first came, he brought a bunch of unknowns, second and third division players and kids. Now, and you look at the lineup, and at the time, they weren't known. Stuyperman, who played the 10, no, Zimmerman at the back, were amazing players, but Daniel Farke wanted them guys. He identified he'll do fine for me and got them in. So, he's a good coach, is Daniel Farke. And the team around him, I don't think Jesse had that. I think the team
Jesse didn't have any mates.
No, well, they had Armas, but he didn't want to come, did he? So, God.
Marriage, you didn't like him.
Marriage hated him. Complete tactician, literally no ideas together. Mental, honestly. But Farke has them guys around him. They all believe in the same thing. Creates a better atmosphere and a better tactics board, I guess.
Do you know, just before we move on, sorry, Joe, when we were talking about him, he likes to bring young players through and he likes certain styles of players. Looking at the squad numbers, Diogo Monteiro doesn't even have a squad number. And for me, he is, from what we saw before we signed him, of the way he'd played in the Portuguese league and for his reserve team and stuff, the clips that I saw, he was very much in the mold of what Daniel Farke would like in a centre-back. He can carry the ball out. He's a good passer of the ball. He's actually quite tall as well and able to win headers. And the fact that we only have one right centre-back, I'd have thought that he would have at least got a squad number just to be on the bench in case Charlie Cresswell gets injured and like Strauch is already on the pitch or whatever. Do you know what I mean? Like, I would have thought that we would at least, and we've got other central defenders as well that haven't been brought in. Their names escape me, but
you've Jeremiah Mullen there as well, and you've got got Chris Moore as well. Yeah. But I think they have got squad numbers. They just not been listed in the first team the first group of squad numbers, the first team squad numbers, because if you look at Archie Gray last year, he was a under 21 player but had 63. So that the kind of the bigger numbers go to those guys after the fact once that's sorted, because they've their own stuff. But I don't think we're going to empty the under 21 side this year. They've got a very tough new format, weird, overly convoluted Premier League 2, which is now one large division of 24 teams that will play 20 games, not 24, 20 games. You're in a pot of 5 teams, and you play all your 5 teams in that, but then you will also maybe play 3, maybe play 5 games of other pots, and then the top 16 go into a knockout, and the top 12 get to represent the representation in a European competition next year, which is
that not like how the MLS works?
It's like the MLS. It's
the MLS. Really?
No promotion, relegation.
In the MLS is like divisions on the different sides of the country, because the teams are so far away, and then they end up playing together for the total prize of the playoff.
Best go against each other.
Not that clued up on the MLS, but it's what it sounds like.
No, it's overly convoluted just to remove relegation, which was the goal, but it's a strange one. Anyway, we're running over time. We'll get some score predictions before we wrap up. And if there's anything you think will happen out of the ordinary as well. So we'll start with Cate. Cate, what do you think score-wise, and if anything will happen that we should be aware of?
Interesting. Well, I had a really interesting chat with a Cardiff fan today, which I'm gonna put out online, and they seem like they're getting their act together. From what I've seen, they've made a few pretty good. For what I heard, I should say, made a few pretty good signings. Yeah, they've got a really robust defense. Two big centre halves, haven't they? I think, or is it a left back? I can't remember. But they've got like big guys. Their team's very, very physical, and I don't think we can totally write them off. And obviously the historical aspects of our sort of head-to-head stats against Cardiff, they're buzzing at the moment. There's been Tan is sort of taking a back seat. I've forgotten the guy, Mehmet, the chairman is getting more involved. And there's been more reinvestment. I think that they're going into it. They're underdogs, aren't they, this season? A lot of quarters, but I think they're going into it feeling quite confident. So I don't know.
6-0 Leeds.
2-0. But I don't think it'll be a walk in the park. I think it'll be, we'll have to fight for it. I could be wrong, but that's what I think.
Expectedly.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. Lucky.
Yeah, I actually agree. Yeah, okay, what you said on the physicality, the Arabic side. I'm doing an opposition review for Joe's show tomorrow, and what I picked up on was they play out from the back. 3 of their goals in pre-season, 2 against Porto, 1 against Braga. 2 against Porto. Can't remember the one was against. Came from losing the ball from playing out from the back. So my initial thought is we're very good at pressing, yes. But the risk then is if they beat that press, they've got a gap in midfield where they can run forward. So it'd be interesting to see how we set up. And they don't press either, or they haven't been. They've been sitting in a block and then making you play out wide. So Ampadu's going to be really swamped in there. So I think he might have a quieter game unless he drops between the centre-backs and we do that. But so it's going to be interesting. It's going to be an interesting game. I actually don't think Cardiff are as bad as people say. Like Cate said, I think they've had a decent pre-season. They lost to Porto 4-0, but that's Porto. And apparently they played some really good stuff in that.
They did.
So it's going to be tough. Don't get me wrong. They're going to be a solid shape. They attack with a 4. So the 4-4-2, they'll attack with... they did in pre-season. They might just change everything because that's usually what happens. But that is what they did. So it's going to be interesting. I'm confident, but I'm not sitting there game. We're going to batter them. I was saying that earlier, but that's just a bit of fun in it. I think it'll be a very close game. The shock is I think we'll score first for the first time in about 10 years. Will they get one?
Do we keep a clean sheet, Lucky?
I don't think so, no.
Oh,
no.
I've got a feeling we'll give away a penalty or something.
Oh, no.
That's exactly what I had. Yeah.
I'm going to say 3-1. I just think the technical players we have up top are too good for their defence in terms of movement. Okay. Too mobile.
Interesting.
Max, how are you feeling about it? What's your thoughts and score prediction?
I'm fairly optimistic. And like people have said, I think people are assuming that Cardiff are going to be really bad this year. But they've actually made some quite good signings. They brought in a player who was in the Turkish Super League team of the season, the centre-back Dimitrios Gutas from Sivasspor. And apparently he's a very decent centre-back, very physical, very strong. Obviously, Aaron Ramsey in the attack midfield. And when Lockie's saying that if they are going to sit back quite deep and then play on the break, you get the ball to somebody like Aaron Ramsey, who's got a bit of quality in there, he could hurt you. But I think we'll have too much quality for them in our attack. And I think given the fact we've had a full preseason, abbreviating things that don't need to be abbreviated. The fact we've had a full preseason now with Daniel Farke, and I think he'll obviously have identified which games we're going to press high in, which games we're going to sit back a little bit more because we're maybe frightened of being counterattacked, etc., etc. But I don't think they'll have the ball playing quality at the back to play through us. Like Lockie says, they've been trying to play out from the back, and the goals have been conceding are the ones that are being caught in those situations. And I think we are going to be set up to go out and attack them and really go for it and get the ball off them. And then in the same vein that you're looking at Aaron Ramsey having a bit of quality in that midfield to pick out a striker to score, we've got that in spades with Sinisterra, with Dan James's crossing into the box, and with Somerville as well. I think all quick players as well. Let's not forget they're all very quick and are able to close down people, especially Dan James. I mean, if he doesn't get the ball, he gets the man, and he makes sure of that. We've seen that many times. So
I think Sin is an underrated pressure as well. Sinisterra is very good at pressing as well.
Yeah.
Sinisterra is not necessarily the quickest player in the world, but I think his positioning is quite good, allowing him to get into those situations where he can cut the ball out. But coming round to the actual prediction, I think it'll be 2-1 to Leeds, because I do think that Dan James will cross the ball into the box, Joffrey will score, and I think we'll score another one, like Lockie says, maybe breaking down their attempt to pass out from the back and getting a goal off that. A bit like Bamford's goal against Forest, maybe, where the ball just comes to somebody and they've just got to put it in the back of the net because of a mistake. But we always concede against Cardiff. I don't think we've kept a clean sheet against Cardiff in years. And Cardiff are traditionally not very good on their opening day of the season as well. And we're half decent in the last few years, especially in the Championship. So I think, we're going to concede, but we're going to win 2-1.
The standard Leeds United 2-1 prediction.
Yeah.
So you just safe bet. I was feeling more confident during the week. I think I said Joe 4-0. I think I'm more at a 3-1 at this point as well. I think we will concede. I'm exactly where Lockie is. My head over the last 2 days is someone's going to push someone. Someone's going to do something silly at a moment when we don't need to do it, and it's going to be the first thing that happens will be a penalty. But I think we win 3-1. And I actually, if he plays, I think Charlie Creswell scores as well on the open as well, like he did for Millwall. Big bullet header to back post. Yeah. He comes in just
Dan James putting the corners in. Who'd have thought?
There you go. There's a redemption story. So
Archie Gray's delivery from corners.
Excellent. And also just really a striking ability to the ball as well. He's got a wonderful foot when
it's a different type of corner than I've seen from any of our players over the last couple of years. It's a bit Rafinha-esque in the way he slices through the ball. Yeah, he gets whip on it, and it's like it doesn't go dead high and then come back down again like a lot of Harrison's corners does. It stays quite flat and almost like head height the whole way, just above maybe, and it curls and drops just as it's getting towards the penalty spot. And we've seen that Strauch's 50p headers put the ball over the bar and into Rose Ed and all nearly for a sometimes. But
that's why I go with Creswell over Strauch. That's why I go with Creswell over Strauch. I think he'd be a good defender. I mean, think about it. He's going to have Ailing one side of him and Cooper the other side of him. Like there's no more experience you could get for he's a natural right footer, and I think for that as well. For he got 5 goals last season in the Championship for Millwall attacking corners. I think he knows how to do it. His dad was a genius at it as well for winning headers and corners, so he's learned from one of the best. So it'd be interesting. I think we win 3-1. I think we win. Let's just win. Let's just go out and win.
Yeah,
that's it.
Get a win.
Right, we'll wrap it up there, folks. As always, thanks for watching. Don't forget to go and check out Max at Leeds Lately on his channel, linked in the description below. Cate at Leedsburg Rants on hers as well, and Lockie Leeds as well. You can get Ben's channel down there, all linked below. Also, just let everyone know we are still doing the connection with Tufts. So if you want to get 15% discount off of the 1958-59 jersey, as well as the other Tufts jerseys that are available there, you can do so by putting in the View 15 as a discount code in your checkout, and you'll get that. Also, because it's on YouTube, and I've got to say this, it's not a paid promotion. I'm not getting any money from Tufts. This is literally just a discount for anyone who watches the channel. So there you go. Do with that what you will. Too many W's at the end of the Friday.
Hopefully we get
Max,
W on
thanks
Sunday.
You what? Yeah,
Yeah,
very good.
absolutely. Nice one.
Right, we'll leave it on that, folks. Thanks very much for watching and listening, and I'll see you next week for Leeds news. See you then. Bye.
Bye. Bye.